Welcome to the Right Path podcast, where being an actual author, still matters. This is the podcast that's for authors. It's about authors. It's done by an author. This is the place, folks, where we share our journeys, we explore our creativity in all of its forms, and we examine the why behind it all. Our guest today is a fascinating individual. I have listened to this guy on other podcasts. He is almost a professional guest at this point. Got to tell you, he has cut his teeth with some of the best, and I'm honored to have him here today. This gentleman is an Air Force veteran of 20 years. He is an avid bodybuilder. He is the lead guitarist for a band called the Angelics, which I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit about. He claims to be a coffee connoisseur. We may put that to the test here in a little while. And he's a poet, and he's an author of the Amazon series and the soon-to-be released Sigma Squad, which I definitely want to, try and pin him down on later on. We'll see if we can get some more information out of him. This guy has done so much and has such a story, and I'm just honored to have him here today. Please welcome to the show, Peter Gunn. Peter, how you doing, brother?
Thank you for having me on, Rory. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, man. It really is. It's my pleasure. I got to say, right out of the gate, you may have the best podcast guesting name in history Peter Gunn. That's your real name, right?
Well, okay. No, it isn't. It was started out as my pen name. Okay, and then it became my stage name after I joined the band. But just to tell you a quick little story about how it happened. When I was traveling with the Thunderbirds, I was after doing the Air Force. There was a mistake. We were staying in Atlantic City, and they lost track of my name. Everyone gets a hotel room. We were at the beautiful Borgata. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before,
Hmm.
but it's one of the biggest casinos in Atlantic City. It's gorgeous, And they when I got to the front desk, they forgot my name. I'm like, oh, we're sorry, sir, we don't have a room for you. And then the manager saw what happened and like, well, he's going to get a room because he's with the air show, with the Thunderbirds in uniform, and he's like, and he went over to a cabinet where that's that not no, easily in reach and grabbed these keys. Like, this is the VIP suite. Here, you take it. So I'm like, I walk into a room that has its own echo. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is massive. Like, you could have no idea they would build something like because it had two floors to it, and it was ridiculous. And along with that room came access to the VIP areas of the casino. So then I'm like, okay, I don't gamble. I'm not that type of person normally, but I'm like, okay, let's go down and play blackjack and something easy I can go play. And as I'm playing, the uh, the lead actor from the sorry, I'm having a brain fart
It's okay, man.
from the from Sopranos comes over and then starts making conversation. And then I asked him, because I didn't want to bother him. We were playing, I think he wanted to be left alone. But I asked him, like, if you had to do it all over, again, what would you do? And he said, change your name, kid. Don't put your family out there in the public if you're going to go out in the public. And if you did your homework, he had like James Gandolfini had a lot of problems with paparazzi, not only with himself but with his family. They were constantly following him. Yeah, so I felt sorry for him, and I took that advice to heart because I mean it's true too. It's when you go out there, like okay, people get interested in you, and there are a lot of crazies that wanna not follow you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's more or less protection. I'm okay with being behind a name and no one knowing who I really am. I'm perfectly fine with that being anonymity. I'm an introvert. This isn't normal for me to do all this. So I'm sort of forcing myself. Yeah.
Well, that's impressive on like 10 different levels, man. You just unpacked a lot just to start us with. I mean, advice from James Gandolfini.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You're talking to an Italian, man. So that's like twice cool in my world. But I love that. That's really interesting. Honestly, I didn't even know that. So I appreciate you sharing it. You could have said, "Yeah, that's my real name," and we'll just let it go. But I appreciate you, man, for opening up like that. Now you were an Air Force veteran. Okay.
Yes.
Right now, you were there for 20 years, right? Yeah. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
congratulations on that. Thank you for your service, 100%. You
Thank
and
you
your
for your
family.
support.
100%, brother. I work with a lot of veterans, and no, I can't sit here and have this conversation if you guys aren't there doing what you're doing. So I love it, and I appreciate you. But how do you go from Air Force veteran into all of these different creative things? Were you able to express this creativity when you were in the Air Force, or is this something that you had to kind of keep under wraps and then let out once you got out of it?
Well, I knew that it would take an extensive amount of time. Okay, not only effort but time, and time that I didn't have when I was wearing the uniform. It was always duty first, and I took that to heart. But once I was able to take the uniform off, I was able to say, okay, now let's go full throttle, and let's go with this. So that's what I decided to really start pushing it my other endeavors and my other creative aspects.
I mean, because as I look at this, and I started really looking into doing the research and checking out a lot of the things that you're into. I mean, it's being an author is an entirely creative, task all on its own, and we're definitely going to talk about that in the books and stuff. But when you add into that, I mean, you're a lead guitarist with a band. Now, did they come ask you to be in this, or did you always play the guitar? Or how'd you get into that?
I never intended to go into a band. Okay, it sort of happened by happenstance.
Yeah,
I have a good friend, Andrea Giordani. She's a very talented voice actress. You can just type her name into Amazon Audible and it'll come up. All her numerous books will come up. And she's helping me doing my Amazon's audiobook. We hired about 30 voice actors, and we're putting all sound effects, and we're going to make it sound like a movie, like you're listening to a movie.
nice.
So I realized, like, hey, when what every movie has a soundtrack, so then why not get a soundtrack then? Have some songs at the beginning, at the end, maybe. And that's why I started looking for a band. And I ran into Leyu Sather online on Upload.com. Okay, and he's a very talented vocalist. He's the one that does all the lead vocals for all the songs. And then he brought in Ellis Richter on drums and Max Lang on the keyboard, and we started pumping out about 10 songs. Okay, we did the Amazon audiobook, and then we also did some for Sigma Squad. So I'm going to plan on having songs with the book, which I think is will give people a lot more for their money. And after the contract ended, they're like, okay, great guys, let's go our own way, sort of thing. And like, then they brought the proposed, hey, why don't we put out an album? And they were happy with the way I was able to write the song so easily and come up with the tunes, the lyrics. So it worked out rather well. We all bring something to the team. And despite the fact that they're in Germany, so we're all working online back and forth, texting and emailing stuff back and forth. We make it work best we can. Yeah.
Wow, I mean that's crazy. You became a musician almost on accident. It was like it sort of
Yeah.
happened to you.
Yeah. I did not intend to do that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so you kept all this sort of hidden and under wraps, and under your idea of duty when you were in service, and then as soon as you get out, it's like the chains came off and creativity
Yeah.
just was bursting out
Yeah.
of you. Is that kind
Yeah,
of all right?
exactly. Well, it was always there. It was always there. It was hidden under wraps because
Yeah.
people like me are very much introverts. If you haven't noticed, and introverts will keep it themselves. They won't put the stuff out there. But I decided with time, let's put everything out there. Yeah,
Wow. And again, looking at your resume over here, I would never guess that you were an introvert. I believe you because you're telling me
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
I mean, you're writing books, you are playing in a band, you're hitting the podcast circuit. You've done over 50 interviews as a guest.
yeah.
I mean, you're definitely putting yourself out there. How tough is that to do all of these things and be this public when you are a self-professed introvert?
Well, it's. I wouldn't say there are times where I have to talk to myself. Like think, am I crazy for doing all this? But if I can change the mind of one person or reach one person, you can't put a price on even so. So if I could change the life of one person, it's all worth it. All this effort's worth it then. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. All right. Now you have something on here about being a coffee connoisseur. All right. Now,
Hmm.
anybody who's listened to any of my 6 podcasts that I have, I'm in my coffee like deep on every single show. So what makes you or anybody else a coffee connoisseur and why?
Well, number one, I don't want it tainted with any extra things like creamer or milk or anything like that. I want it black. And I can sit back And I don't even have to drink the entire cup. I can just take a couple of sips and appreciate the different flavors and the different, roasted and I prefer a light roast, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
me too.
don't like a dark roast because the manufacturers, unless it's like a small little business, they'll roast really roast it and then apply too much heat to the beans usually.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. Yeah, I found with the dark roast stuff, it's almost like they can cheat, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you order your steak rare, then or medium rare, you're getting a better piece of meat. If you order it well
Yeah.
done, you're getting the worst piece of meat in the kitchen because they're going to kill it twice anyway. And
Hmm.
I found that with the dark roast coffees. Is that something you've run into?
That and the fact that a lot of these bigger companies, there's rumors online about there being a certain amount of allowable contaminants,
Ah,
if you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I
Yes.
do. Yes.
So I tend to stay away from that as well because just in case I don't want to be drinking that. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. I appreciate it. I just wanted to touch on that for a minute. That's just my own personal. I wanted to find out what that was about. So appreciate you indulging me for a moment. Now, you're a poet, you're an author. In your book, in the Amazon series, which is the series you've created here, you came up with something and you invented this, which I think is just fascinating. It's LLP, linked lyrical poetry. This is how you write. Now, when someone reads a sample of the book, they're going to get kind of what it is and what it's about and maybe why. But they may just be thinking, hey, this is written a little bit different. Or they may even think, hey, why is it written this way? But they're going to know it's not just, uh, you know, Jane threw the ball to Spot, see Spot run. I mean, it's a writing style with a point and a purpose.
Hmm.
I'm going to give you the floor for a minute. Go ahead and let everybody know first what is LLP, okay, and why utilize it that way. What's your purpose behind creating this way?
Well, let's go back and look at Shakespeare. Okay. How many people need Shakespeare explained to them? They don't know, what he's talking about. Just about
Right.
everybody, right? Why is that? It's because the language changed. Okay,
Hmm.
so now why is poetry fallen out of favor for a lot of times? It's because the language has changed, so that the poems that are written aren't quite in context in 21st century. So we need something new. We need a new language for poetry to bring it in the 21st century. So Gen Alpha will then and Gen Z will then understand it. Now LLP, linked lyrical poetry, mimics rap closely enough and they will understand it because how many of that younger generation that can memorize a rap song forward and backward like
Right.
nothing? Yes.
Yeah.
So they'll understand it, they'll recognize it. It's also bringing it into the 21st century. So then it's not old, it's brand new, it's something that hasn't been done before. They can call it
Interesting.
theirs. They can call it theirs from their generation.
I love that. Okay. All right. Let me digest that for just a second. The especially the rap part. Um,
Mhm.
I have heard my boys, for instance, are in their 20s, and they can take any song comes on the radio. They know every word. Somehow they've memorized
Mhm.
everything. They can't remember what
Yeah.
I asked them to do 5 minutes ago, but they can definitely, remember all the song lyrics. There is a rhythm to what you wrote and the
Mhm.
way you write it. Shakespeare wrote with that iambic pentameter, type of rhythm that some of us learned about in high school, right? And we were like, oh, that's what this is. Great. I don't care. Let me move on. You found a similar type of thing, but you made it a more youthful, more
It's more free
identifiable
flowing.
rhythm.
Yeah, it's more free flowing. I
Yeah.
had a friend that read the book and then had to take a phone call afterwards, and she inadvertently kept on rhyming the conversation with the person, and the person was like, "Did you intend to do?" And then she's like, "No," and then she called me back like, "What did you do to me?" The rhyming gets in your head and you memorize it a lot more. The brain likes it; it takes to it very well, just like a song that gets stuck in your head. Okay, and you'll be hearing it for days because it's rhymed so well.
So you're taking advantage of like a natural neurolinguistic programming
Yes.
model to
Hmm.
insert your own format of
Same thing with the
the
songs. Same thing with
list.
the
I
songs.
love that. Okay, I,
Yes.
I got to know, where did this come from?
Well, a lot of my ideas now, I'll admit, are channeled. Okay, a lot of the writing, a lot of the songs are channeled. So,
Okay.
I'm in, when I'm in my flow state, like I said, like earlier, the conversation, like around 3 a.m. is when I do most of my writing. And when I'm in my flow state, a lot of this just comes to me. The next paragraph, the next chapter, the next song. Okay, I would say 80% of the stuff I write is channeled. The ideas and a lot of the stuff I write is channeled. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't realize that you were, into channeling and things like that. Now, are you
It's one of those things that I'm not necessarily into. It's one of those things that happened to me after my NPE that stayed with me.
okay? All right. Well, let's get into that then, because I
Okay.
know that you did have a near-death experience, and I know that that can really change things internally, mentally, emotionally, the whole
Yeah.
bit. Go ahead and talk about that. Tell everybody kind of what happened to
Well, first off, let me say my parents are good parents. Okay. This happened
you.
back in the early 80s when it was okay to leave your children unattended. Okay. The whole latchkey kid thing was very real, and a lot of us would come home without having parents there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was during the summer, and it was a particularly hot day, and of course, being that young, you don't realize the signs and symptoms of heat stroke coming on. So I just
Yeah.
remembered, I was about 7 years old, and I had been given chores to do. If I didn't get them done, I'd get in trouble. And maybe that's another thing that a lot of today's younger generation don't know is getting spanked or say getting the whip if you get in trouble if you don't do it. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I kept pushing myself because I don't need to get done, but I felt very tired. Okay, I wasn't realizing that it was signs of heat stroke coming on, so I lay down, but my body continued to cook and then go into shock, and then I passed.
Hmm.
Now I have no idea how much time transpired when this whole incident happened. Rough guess, it's about 3 hours. So then when I went under,
Wow.
I remember being in what people call their light bodies. So you could think of it as the reverse of a black and white picture. You're made out of white light and transparent. I remember looking down at my body, seeing myself, and I rather quickly came to the realization that, okay, am I dead? That immediately entered in my mind. And then above me, a tunnel formed with the white light. At the end, I immediately started going up it. And when I got to the end, I was greeted by an angel, and or what I believed to be an angel. Let me just say that. I was given a life review, but being so young, I was only 7. It was quite short. Um, but also at the same time, it almost seemed to happen instantaneously. Whereas in the third dimension here that we live, time is linear. You can see it go by and you see us get older and things change. But there, it seems that things happen almost instantaneously. Like the life review happened almost instantaneously. Anyway, after the life review, I was brought to what I was perceived to be the gates of heaven. But there was another angel there that stopped us and said, "Your job isn't done. You have to go back." And then I woke up back in my body, paramedics hovering over me and trying to figure out what just happened. Yeah. And after that I haven't been the same, or I should say normal.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, something like that changing you at a, almost genetic level is pretty understandable. So, you saw these things. I'm starting to really understand some things like, where Sigma Squad might be coming from.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a minute too. But now this led to somehow your ability to channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Well, a lot of people's experience NDEs have paranormal experiences afterwards. A lot of people say they bring it with them, or it just happens because the veils are a lot thinner around them. Um, I started seeing dead people. Started seeing spirits, dark and light. I started actually seeing things before they happened. A few times when, like, an old family friend was, just showed up uninvited. I told my mother a few hours before, "Hey, this person's going to come to visit." My mother looked at me, I'm like, "No, no, they're not." All of a sudden, a few hours later, they're knocking at the door. I told my mother about a day prior, she was going to slip on the ice and break her ankle, and she did. So it scared her. It scared her quite a bit.
I imagine.
And then when I realized that I was, so we say, shaking her faith as well, I shut up about it because I was scaring my parents as well when that was happening. So I just shut up about it and suffered in silence. I came to the realization that I knew I died. I knew it wasn't a dream. So I just dealt with it as best I could, really. As time moved on, it started to die off a lot. It was usually around, I'd say about puberty is when it died off.
Hmm.
But I've always been very much an empath and been able to channel and get messages all the time.
Excellent.
Whether I want to or not. I mean, there were times like I wanted to go to sleep. I was particularly tired. I wanted to go to sleep, but all of a sudden I get what I call a download and started writing it. And I realized that it was a country song. And I had no intention of writing a country song, but I was like, okay, I'll write it down anyway. And that's what came through. You just have to just deal with it best you can.
Wow. Okay, so now do you think it started to go away, around puberty because you had tucked it away and you weren't using it?
No, it's normal with most people that have NDEs to have it so it fade because this is just hypothesizing. We don't know
Sure.
how or why it happens, but a lot of people feel that you're still somewhat connected when you come back. You're fresh like a baby.
Mhm.
You just came from the spirit world, so the powers linger. Now, normally it takes a couple years, like with a lot of the Catholics believe that you cannot make a sin until you're 7 years old because you're so young, and that usually takes a couple of years after the NDE for say the occurrences to die down if they do die down at all. That's what happened with me.
Wow. And you were raised Catholic, I understand, right?
Roman Catholic, old school. Yes, I had
Right,
to
old
learn
school.
Latin and everything. I was the altar boy. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, all the way Catholic. So
yeah.
having that kind of a legalistic upbringing, in a church like that, the how did that shake you at all then to be all of a sudden after you're in, dealing with this stuff sort of from the spirit realm?
Well, being an empath, you feel things, and I could feel the, should we say, quote unquote, vibe
Hmm.
from people in the church, from the priest, from all the others. They're like, okay, these are not good people. And then seeing what their actions were like, I knew right away that okay, I wanted to be a priest, I wanted to serve humanity, but not in that way, because that they were not doing that. Guarantee it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard you talking about before talking about somebody, the priest getting drunk or something
Yeah. Oh
before the.
yeah. Oh yeah. We would, when you're 12, you're young and impressionable, and
Oh yeah,
um, I graded it afterwards because I got real sick. But the priest would hand us the altar wine before going serving mass. He would take a swig and then give it to us. We'd take a swig and we went out there and served mass drunk. Of course,
Hmm.
I got really sick afterwards. But you're young, impressionable. I never had alcohol before. Yeah.
Right. Ouch, ouch. So you not exactly the best experience and
No,
that sort
no,
of thing.
no, it wasn't. No.
Sounds like a little of what they call church hurt, coming out. So I got you. Now, when all of this stuff was hitting you, the spiritual aspect, were you actually able to perform like a medium in terms of channeling, or was it just receiving sort of messages from outside to within?
I just like a conduit, like a wire, I guess you could say. I just
Oh,
receive, really. And I also feel like if anything malevolent is coming even close to me, I'll feel it before it happens. Yeah.
wow, interesting. All right. And now, has any of that stuck around in terms of still impacting you today?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still feel malevolence. If it's coming close, I'll know it. I'll usually steer clear of it. And I still, like I said, a lot of this stuff is channeled, like especially the songs are channeled. Yeah.
Wow, nice. All right. The Now you have one album out, right? We talked about songs, so let's touch on that
Yeah.
one more time and then we can move on. The album is Hazing Hades.
Yes.
In case
Correct.
anybody wants to go look that up, I want to give them a brief what that's about and what they can expect, and then let's get into these books because I'm dying to talk about the Amazon series.
Okay. Well, basically, the premise that we made this album with is let's pretend you went back into your attic, into your basement, into your own cassettes and or CDs, and you found one that you had never opened. You somehow missed it. Okay. What would it sound like? So we wanted it to sound like the 80s. So there's a whole
Uh,
variation of the songs. Like the first three to five are real heavy metal. The rest goes softer, softer, softer into like the last one, divination, you could play in a church as worship music.
Interesting. All right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the creativity that's just sort of exploding out of you at this point. You've got
Yes, I guess you could say, yeah.
well, you've got writing that is aimed towards Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and you've got
Yeah.
music aimed at Gen X.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow, man, you're busy.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy.
Yes.
All right, man, I love that. I really do. The Amazon series. In the course of an episode, I will almost inevitably ask somebody, who did you write your books for or to? Who'd you have in mind? That type of thing. For you, that's a pretty simple answer, isn't it?
Yeah. In 2010, when I had my daughter,
Yeah.
I wanted to enroll her in my love of poetry and the epics, like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Dr. the Inferno, Beowulf.
Yeah.
But then I soon realized, like why would a young girl want to read these? Where are the females represented in the old hero's journey? So I
Mhm.
started looking for them. They don't really exist. I mean, I was sure that there's side pieces, like Helen of Troy. They mentioned how beautiful she is, but was she an expert basket weaver? Tell us more about her. Bring her into the story. But they don't. It's always the male dominated. So I decided to do something about that because it's the fact that it doesn't exist. It's almost like saying to our mothers or daughters or sisters, "You're not worthy of the hero's journey." You know?
Right. Is that what led you to use the Amazon, culture, so to speak, as
Yeah.
sort of the base, the strong women figure, sort of at the heart of it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you could think of them as equivalent to the Spartan society,
Hmm.
except they're females. They also then integrated. I always like to do what I call a pulling a Dan Brown. 'Cause Dan Brown will pull in fact and fiction, and he'll combine the two. And like if you read the Da Vinci Code, you're like, okay, what's real?
Right.
What part of this or Ages of Demons? I sort of decided to then start doing looking into legends about the Amazons and about the Amazon jungle itself. And I used a lot of that in the book as well. Like the fact that there were giant skeletons, numerous, and they're still finding them today, giant skeletons that were found in the Amazon, but they cover it up. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you write this entire thing is written for your daughter.
Yeah.
You want to be able to kind of lead by example here. You want to say, hey, there is no heroine running the show, so I'm going to create one, right? And this is the
Yeah.
writing that you put out there.
Mm-hmm.
You decide you're going to make her an Amazon. Now, the artwork that goes along with it seems like it's a very good fit. You sort of do the basic work on all of that, right? I mean, a lot of the
Yes.
images and the direction for
Yeah.
the images comes from
Mm-hmm.
you.
When you're an entrepreneur and you're going to take on things like this, you'll soon realize that you can't do everything yourself.
Sure.
So then I wound up hiring a team of artists to help me finish not only with the Amazon, but with my graphic novel. And they've been indispensable. It's a great teamwork. Honestly, I'll probably keep them employed for years to come because I have more ideas. They keep on coming.
Nice, nice. The I noticed, and maybe it's just me. I'm a reformed comic book guy, from the old days. Seemed like there's some influences maybe in some of the artwork. I don't know if that comes from you or from the artist you hired, but and also in some of the shorts that you've put out, stuff on your website, maybe some Elder Scrolls or some Red Sonja or something like that type of warrior, female, that type of thing. Is that coming from you? First of all, am I picking that up right? Second of all, is it coming from you, or is that inserted from the artist that you have brought on to finalize your vision?
Oh, that's coming from me. I go down to every detail of what they're wearing, what they look like, even the color of their hair. And yes, it does draw a little bit of inspiration from Red Sonja.
Oh
Yes.
wow! All right, good. So I caught that. Great, love that, man. Were you a Conan fan as well?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I had a feeling. I've seen
I mean, and of course, who isn't the Pranzetti, lover too of his artwork of the Conan, early Conan,
the early
you
Conan,
know? Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. Everyone right now is listening, going, "What are these two guys talking about?" But I understand. I really do. I love that that's an influence. Those are powerful images that you're putting out there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And just like, for young boys to be looking at like the Conans, and things, and for young girls to be looking at the warrior princess type thing, where it isn't just about being beautiful and having a gown and, doing the Helen of Troy thing. It's about, being a fighter, standing up for what you believe in, going out and accomplishing things, right? So, I mean, I love the way you're doing this. Um, the idea behind the Amazon series. Can you tell us anything about it that doesn't give away the secret sauce? Because, hey, if people really want to know, they should go buy the book. It's on Amazon. But anything you can tell us about it, just to kind of wet somebody's whistle and say, maybe I should go look into that.
Well, it starts out with humans and not with the Amazon themselves because I felt I wanted to send a message to young men as well. Like if they were to come across this sort of female race in the jungle that is so more powerful than men, what could you contribute as a man to that society? Would you be valuable or would you be looked at as trash and be thrown away? That's why in the first chapter, or I should say stanza, I integrated a character named Lynch that they didn't like to sort of insinuate that it's important to be a good man because you have to bring something more to society than just your physical strength or social status that you might have been born with. You have to contribute in a way. And I wanted to integrate the two, the feminine and the masculine, to show that there's a synergy that goes through. Because then there's Jack and his sister Lynn that are going to be the key players in the story. Even in the second book, it's two chapters of Jack, two chapters of Lynn, two chapters of Jack, two chapters of Lynn. So it's going to be
Nice.
a teamwork.
Nice. All right. I love it. Absolutely love it. The now you mentioned a couple of these things here. You mentioned before the idea of angels, and then you just brought up the idea of the masculine and the feminine. These are also principles that you are incorporating currently into the Sigma
Yes,
Squad, which is not yet released. Is that right?
correct. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that set or that book, that project, is that something that came from your near-death experience more than other things, or is it sort of stemming from the Amazon series? I'm curious where the push is coming from to go that direction.
Well, I actually got the idea from the ancient Gnostic Gospels. They talk about different levels of humanity, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it because how many times have you heard something happen that's so horrific it makes you question, like, how could a human do this?
Hmm.
You know, and then it sort of makes sense when you think about it, like, okay, are these human? Are we even all human? We all look human, but are we all human? And that's what I decided to bring in the different levels of humanity and into the graphic novel form, and sort of it's a way of people seeing what's going on behind the scenes in the form of a graphic novel.
Nice. The Amazon series is what you would consider a book as opposed to a graphic novel. Tell
Yes.
folks who don't know the difference between a book and a graphic novel.
Well, graphic novel is written like a comic book, except it has a lot more dialogue in it than the normal comic book. But it's usually about 100 to 200 pages or more. So it's quite big. Yeah,
Okay.
it usually comes in a series.
It's kind of like a comic book on steroids,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
to speak. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. I've read some pretty cool graphic novels, so that's interesting. The in either of these projects, in terms of your writing, um, are you in the books?
Any author puts themselves in the books, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, they're there. That
Right.
there's pieces in everything. So
Mhm.
I say yes, I'm there very much so. In the graphic novel, the main male character looks a lot like me, even though he doesn't have the same name.
I was going to bring that
Yes,
up.
but I would say he has a perfect haircut. I needed that perfect haircut, so I was like, okay, well, once we have that, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that cover, I looked just like you. And I was like, okay, this can't be an
Yeah.
accident. So I
Yeah.
mean, I was going to ask the question anyway, but yeah, it's had a little extra oomph. So I appreciate you going right there. All right. So that's intentional then.
Yes, that's very fictional.
Nice. All right. I like it. I like it. Okay. And the idea behind in that book, the Sigma Squad and the graphic novel, you have angels that are separated, the masculine and the feminine, and then inhabit the bodies of regular people.
Well, that's that idea that's also brought from the Gnostic Gospels. There are creatures that are angels, but they call them aeons because an angel doesn't have a gender. It's if you were to look at an angel, it has masculine and feminine features. So the aeons were then split into two, one masculine, one feminine, and then sent to Earth to do God's will.
Got it. So when they get,
And
go ahead.
no, and in this in the graphic novels case, it's then to wipe out the members of the deep state one by one, become assassins.
Right. I read that part. That's, I
Yeah.
mean, you're cutting a little close to that, aren't you? I mean, how's that going to hit home in today's world? I love it personally. I've been on that razor's edge for 6 years, so I get it. But I mean, you're treading into some territory right there where you may have a few people, voice some opinions about it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there will. I had a different upbringing. Okay. Yeah, I often joke if there was such thing as a right wing, my mother would have been falling off of it. Um, I knew what the New World Order was at 5 years old. Okay. Just to give you an idea. So this
Got
is
it.
just, me being me, really. Yeah.
Got it. Well, and I've listened to you on some other podcasts where you actually talk about, the political aspects of it. So I get kind of where you fall. And the splitting of the angels, when they come to Earth, then they have the gender of the body that they're in, and they're matched up that
Yes.
way, right?
Hmm.
Okay. I was going to say genderless, characters would be a little
We
dangerous
call
in
them
today's
twin
world too.
flames, soulmates. Yeah.
Right on. That sounds incredibly interesting. Now, you've been a little cagey about when this comes out, and I know it's not out yet, but are we thinking soon? Are you
I'm
thinking
hoping March next year.
March of next year? All right. All right. We got to put that in our calendars. So,
Okay.
all right, wonderful. All right, I love this. The idea with the Amazon series. Now, how many books are in the series currently?
Well, it depends on the how much feedback I get from. I'm going to put out three, and then there is going to be a fourth that goes back into what happened in the beginning. So we're actually picking up midway because we still have to go back into the beginning in the early 1800s. Yeah, so it's quite extensive. At least, and the whole story is in my head.
Wow. So this is what's planned out. Is three, possibly four,
Yes,
are sort of
yeah,
set in terms of what you have
going to be at
planned.
least a trilogy. Yes.
All right. How many are released right now?
Just the one.
That's what I
I
thought.
had a setback on the second one. I decided to pull back and like try to redirect the story a little bit differently. And LLP, I mean, I I wish I was a normal author in a lot of ways because LLP is a very demanding mistress. You could sit down for an hour and only get a paragraph. Okay,
Imagine.
so yeah, it takes a long time to write in that format. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because when I was reading about this, that was one of the things I thought about. Everybody has a process, in terms of how they write their book. And, maybe it's, I'm going to devote an hour a day and I'm just going to, I'm going to write about this part. And, everybody has a totally different way of looking at it. Um, what is your process for getting a book done? Because I know you took like 2 years to get the first one done, right? Is that what I heard?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're very deliberate about this, and then you're also a 20-year military guy. So, but as creative as you are, I don't really know what to guess here, whether it's a regimented, I sit down and I do this, or whenever it hits me and I'm channeling ideas. What's your process like?
Well, the time I channel is usually regimented. So I set it like usually around 3 a.m. And I do live a very regimented life, but there are times when I'll get downloads and all of a sudden I'll just have to pick up my phone and start jotting them down and then, deal with them later, add them into the book or write a song about them.
Okay. So if it comes to you, you write it down, you go back to it later. But you do
Yeah.
have a period of time where you feel like you're sort of at your peak performance
Yes.
level. And you think that
Mhm.
that's when?
Around 3 a.m. usually.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody heard that a second time because you and I talked about this briefly in the pre-interview. You have a very unique schedule. You want to
Yeah.
let people know a little bit about that?
Well, I'll usually get home from work about 3, and I'll then immediately go to bed and then get up at 11 p.m. And then I'll go to the gym. And then after that, I'll start my meditation, and then I'll do my writing. Like I said, a very regimented life. Yeah,
Wow. And so then you go right to work again and then come back and
yep,
Lather, rinse,
Repeat it.
repeat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I heard somewhere that I read that you hit a 365 days straight in the gym at some
Yeah,
point.
last year.
That was
Yeah.
last year. Is that still going, or did you take a day off at some point?
Well, this year I decided to add an extra day onto my fasting. So I've been fasting for 48 hours once every week. And I decided to be, so we say, a little bit easier on myself. So on the second fast day, I won't go to the gym.
I see. All right. On the second day of absolute fasting.
Yeah,
So you're talking what,
yeah.
just water, coffee, tea, that's it type thing?
Just water and tea. Yeah,
That's it. All right. No
that's it.
coffee during fasting?
No coffee.
Wow. Interesting. All right. The regimented life I absolutely can see, especially after all that time, serving the country
Yeah,
the way you have. But that's incredibly unique. I'm sure you've heard that a million times from people when you talk about it. So,
they
but
usually think I'm crazy.
hey, it's unique, brother. I mean, I would never call anybody crazy because, I do things that I'm sure people would look at and be like, "What? Why would anybody do that?" Right? But I don't do what you're doing. So, um, I love the idea though, and so then that works into your process of how you get it all out. All right.
Oh yeah.
And how long you been living this lifestyle, doing this?
Oh my gosh. I mean, for a regimented lifestyle, since I started bodybuilding around the age of 16, I first started walking into the gym about that age, fell in love with bodybuilding, and then realized that I'm going to have to eat at certain intervals, okay, throughout the day. And that's when it started really. And then I saw the advantages to being able to adopt that into my lifestyle. And like, okay, let's just keep going with it. So then I'll have regimented times I check my email, regimented times that I deal with family matters, regimented times that I deal with, work issues and stuff like that. So it's everything's regimented.
Wow, that's impressive, man. It really is. All right, let's get back to talking about the book just a little bit here. You are a published author. So
Yeah.
as you get into the, process of I'm going to write a book, I'm going to publish a book, I'm going to become an author, right, who's published. Everybody has an idea when they start of what it's going to look like. They see themselves, maybe you're at a book signing or maybe you're, receiving an award or a nice big check, whatever it is. Um, when we get into it, very often we find out that the reality of the process is nothing like what we thought of. Uh, did that happen to you? And what was your biggest surprise, good or bad, in terms of how different it was from the first vision you had?
Well, I've been offered $40,000 from a publisher for the rights to the Amazons, but then, like I said, they wanted the rights. So then you read the fine print, and I'm basically signing over my child. That's what it feels like, So
Uh,
I didn't want to do that, and I want control over my stories, really. So I said no, thank you.
okay, so you turned down the publishing route. Did you go with
Yeah,
a like a combo publisher or a hybrid, or did you go self-publishing?
every contract I've seen so far doesn't allow me to keep my rights. So until I find a publisher that was going to allow me 100% of say of what happens with this, I won't do it.
Excellent. So self-publishing is where you have been and
Yeah.
what you've done so far. All right.
Mhm.
Good for you. Good for you. When it means that much to you, then that's usually the road to take. So congratulations. Um, so was it that? Was it that everybody wanted to take your rights away? Is that kind of what changed from the initial vision to, where you are now?
Well, I look at it as become so big and bold that everyone knows your name that they're going to send me a contract that okay, I'll have all rights and I'll say what goes, and then I'll just wait until that happens.
I
And
love it.
it's happening little by little. I'm growing, bigger and bigger every day.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Well, you're doing the grassroots movement and you're doing the work. You put the book out,
Yeah.
you're out doing podcasts, so now, have you found our podcasts, guesting on podcasts? Is that the best way that you have found to promote the book? And if so, what other ways have you tried?
Well, honestly, ever since the album came out,
Mhm.
it's exploded. I mean, I've booked through February of next year, and it keeps growing. Ever since the album, they want to talk about the album, about the songs, that people are just ecstatic about it. So that's then by almost by proxy, then they figure out who I am. They look at my website, and then they read my book. It's sort of the album and the books are working hand in hand together.
Nice. It is a synergy with all of your projects and all of
Yes,
your creativity.
yes.
It's all helping each other.
Hmm.
Excellent. The rising tides raising all ships for you. That's a great way to go, brother. It really is. Okay. As we start to kind of wind this down, and man, I appreciate everything you've brought to the podcast today. I mean, just the authenticity and all the stories you've told and where you've been. And I know everybody else has also. Before we kind of get into the last question or two, let me make sure that I get your contact information out to everybody because otherwise I'll forget it. So let's get that out there. How can they find you? How can they find the books, the whole bit? And then we can go ahead and finish up.
You can go to my website, go to www.petergunn.net. All my projects are on there, and release dates of the Sigma Squad will be on there as well. And if you want to go to find the album, just go to your preferred music app and type in the album name is Hazing Hades. The name of the band is the Angelics.
Nice. Nice. When it comes to especially the first, book project, the Amazons, the do you consider this a success already? And if not, what does it have to look like for you to feel like this was a success?
Success is changing the minds of one person. That's a success to me. So touching, and I've already had people, come up to me and tell me like they love the fact that well, I don't want to spoil the book, but that the daughter had to take over the for the mother's place when she died, and it touched them, and because they that happened in their lives. And I already know I've moved people's lives for the positive with the books, writings, and the songs they've told me. I get emails every day, so I know I'm on the right track.
Nice. Well, congratulations then, because to feel that way about it is a gift, and I love that. That's fantastic, man. All right, you have accomplished being a published author, which so many people never get to. Everybody says they want to write a book, very few do. You've been through the process, you've gotten it out, it's out there right now and available. What's the best piece of advice that you can give to the folks who are listening now who want to get a book out? They want to publish, they want to have their dream come true, on the printed page like that. And they haven't yet. What's your best piece of advice to folks who are not quite where you are yet?
I always remind them of that old joke that goes, "How do you eat an elephant?" And it's one bite at a time.
Right.
Yeah. So the problem is they look at the elephant and they say, "I can't eat that," but you only have to take a bite. Just take a bite, one paragraph, one page, do what you have time for. Everybody, it's about everybody has a lunch hour, that works at a normal job. Could you take 30 minutes of that hour to take your phone out and start writing your book? Think about it.
Excellent. Great advice, brother. It really is. 100%. All right, folks, 20-year Air Force veteran, bodybuilder, lead guitarist for the Angelics. Look up the album Hazing Hades, the coffee connoisseur and poet, the author of the Amazon series and soon to be published Sigma Squad. Folks, the inventor of LLP limited or linked lyrical poetry. Peter Gunn. Peter, thank you so much for coming on, sharing everything that you did, and for just giving of yourself in all of your projects and in everything you do, brother. Thank you. It's great having you on here today.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. It was a blast.
Thank you so much. Folks, this has been another fantastic episode of the Right Path podcast, where the truth still counts and words still have power. This is the place where authors know that every page is a step forward. So let's lift each other up. Let's dust ourselves off and let's all move forward together.